Hey everyone, right before this episode starts, we just want to say that even though this episode doesn't contain any explicit language or graphic material, Look Back does contain depictions of grief and mass violence, and we will be discussing those themes as they pertain to the film itself. So we just wanted to let you guys know that ahead of time. Thanks. On to the episode. So, a bit of important news before we start this episode. We're unfortunately mourning the loss of our producer, Big John Stud. Last week, he passed away due to a stress-related incident, and I don't want to say that us going slightly over on the episode last time had anything to do with that stress, but I sure hope not.
There's no way, right?
Yeah, there's no way. There's no way. We should be fine, I hope.
We didn't even go that far over.
Yeah, we were over by, like 20, 30 seconds? This isn't that big of a deal.
Plus, he had pre-existing conditions, so...
Yeah. It's tough.
It's a damn shame. It's a damn shame.
Yeah. He was one of our supporters for a long time, and...
God rest his soul.
Hang on.
What's going on?
Sorry, I thought I just heard a noise. I'll be right back. You talk about John Stud.
Okay, I'm going to vamp. John Stud...
Because you knew him better than I did.
John Stud was a stand-up American. He would give you the shirt off his back and the shoes off his feet if he thought you were in need. Big John Stud is a hero to many, a father to some, and a brother to all, and he will be dearly missed. Josh, what do we have? Do you have a note?
Yeah, this was like right under my door. Just this note right here.
It just in your one of your roommates then is pulling a prank on you?
I don't know. We might have to cut this out, but
okay.
Let me see what it is real quick. Holy
what?
It says at the top, Big John Stud.
Big John Stud?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if it's him. It's a 4-panel comic. Weird coincidence since we're talking about Look Back this episode, but let me see what this is. So the first panel is the Warner Brothers building, like the Warner Brothers skyscraper, I guess.
The water tower?
Seems. Not the water tower, just like a skyscraper with the Warner Brothers logo on it. This isn't like the one that this isn't the tower that Yakko, Wacko, and Dot live in. I think this is just like a generic skyscraper.
See, I hear Warner Brothers Tower and I think Yakko, Wacko, and Dot.
The second panel is David Zaslav. It looks like he's counting a lot of money. He's labeled David Zaslav very pointedly like a political cartoon. Just no room for misinterpretation or anything. It's him. It's definitely
It's not
him.
like vaguely looked like David Zaslav.
It's not
Scott Pilgrim where they put the title cards up for the things that Wallace
something
owns.
Like that. Yeah,
one
exactly.
thing that Scott
like
owns.
That. Yeah, but he's counting money, and he's got like piles and piles of money off to the side, and he's counting more money. The third panel is kicking open the door. Is somebody kicking open the door? Is labeled Big John Stud, the person is, and he's got a pickaxe in his hands. And the fourth panel, I don't think I can describe this on the air.
Do your best, and then we'll bleep it if we have to.
Okay. Mr. Zaslav's moved.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, we just want to say that we do not endorse any acts of violence against any particular person, even if we dislike them.
Especially if we dislike them. Violence is not the answer, typically.
Yeah, we all know that Big John Stud, last time he was a proper guest on the podcast. Yeah, God rest his soul. Had a number of things to say about the Warner Brothers Corporation, and while we certainly believe that those are valid criticisms, we don't agree with the actions depicted in this comic that he is doing.
We certainly do not.
I will say, Mr. Zaslav, you might want to find an exorcist, because that
Big John Stud was many things, and vindictive
was
definitely one of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's gone. I would be afraid of a haunting or two.
Yeah, and hopefully he doesn't come after us next.
Oh, we'll be fine.
Again, the Catholic guilt is in there for me, but
I buried the Catholic guilt a long time ago with Big John Stud.
Well, anyways, I'm Josh.
And I'm Brogan.
And this is How to Otaku.
It's a podcast.
It is a podcast where we talk about
Anime sometimes.
Yeah,
Most of the
anime
time.
sometimes, Warner Brothers very often.
It's becoming a Warner Brothers hate podcast, but
Yeah, and we're not going to talk politics today. Definitely not.
I'm not going to talk politics today.
We're not going to talk politics, okay? We're staying very clear of politics, and honestly, I think that's for the better. I think that if you could say anything about the film Look Back that we're talking about today, it's that it has a very particular focus that it doesn't let away from for 1 second, and it's all the better for it.
Not one single second. Like, literally, this is the most concise film I've ever seen.
It is extremely concise, to the point that it didn't even get a proper release in America. And the weird thing is that Amazon bought the rights, and even when you start the movie on Prime, it has like the MGM logo on it and everything.
Yeah,
They're
the first time I've seen the Century logo is I've seen the Century logo for MGM.
Yeah. But I checked 5 different little carousels on the Prime on the Prime front page or whatever. This is not on any one of them.
Yeah, no, I had to look for it. I had to search for it.
And it came out 2 days ago. So
on Thursday.
It's weird. It's weird that they picked it up and are just burying it already. But that's a shame, because I think that we were talking just a touch before we started the podcast. You seem to have a couple of issues with things, but I think we could both agree that this is at least worth a watch, right?
Oh, yeah. My overall outlook on this movie is fairly high. I thought it was pretty solid.
Yeah. I was expecting more of an emotional gut punch, and it didn't really give me that, but I felt invested in the characters, and that...
I will say I did feel that gut punch, like, almost instantaneously. Like, and we can get into it later. We can talk about it when we talk about it, because, like I said, it's a very short movie. This probably will not be an incredibly long episode.
Yeah.
So we can get there when we get
Just
there.
watch it for 3 hours after that. After
that
you
would
say
be
that.
I don't have a whole lot. I mean, it's a great movie. I don't have tons to say about it beyond the, like, clerical stuff.
Yeah. There's an interesting choice at the midpoint that we can talk
Definitely.
about. But the first thing I want to get into with this is a little bit of background on Tatsuki Fujimoto. Is that correct? Is that the way you pronounce it?
I believe that would be, yes. Tatsuki
Fujimoto, who is most well known for Chainsaw Man, which I have no knowledge about.
Which is pretty funny that all the manga covers for Shark Kick are like direct parodies of the Chainsaw Man covers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the manga. Yeah, like and we can throw up some images of this in. Yeah,
I'll try to find good comparisons.
But if you can find like a good shot of like Shark Punch Volume 1 compared to Chainsaw Man Volume 1, it's the exact same cover.
Yeah, but so from what I've read, Chainsaw Man started in around 2018, right? That was he did another manga before. It was called Fire Fist. Am I right? Yes. That ran for a couple of years, and then this is the one that really popped off and is like the thing that he's known for.
That is not the case. Chainsaw Man is huge, Josh. I would say this is secondary or tertiary within his works. I think it's phenomenal.
That's what I'm saying, is that Chainsaw Man is his...
Oh, yeah. Okay. I thought you were saying Look Back would have been.
Oh, sorry. But I wanted to ask, you're probably more familiar with Chainsaw Man than me. Are there any interesting other correlations with this?
I have only read probably 5 or 6 episodes worth of Chainsaw Man.
Oh, okay.
So maybe like 12 chapters or so. From that, not much. There is a common theme of connection throughout both of them. I think one of the things that Fujimoto really likes to play with a lot is personal connection. And so in this, it's, I don't know, like a dissection almost, like a cross cut of this relationship between these two people, framed through initially their competition in manga, and then their friendship, and then what happens when you lose someone. But there's also, like, in Chainsaw Man, it's more of the, like, trying to find people to connect with, trying to find like where I fit in, trying to find how I create connections. So like there are similar themes in that sense, but wholly different works.
Okay, that's interesting. I wasn't sure if there was going to be like any kind of like interesting greater connections there. I think we should get into it proper. So yeah, so the main character is Fujino, who is this kid who starts drawing around like the 3rd or 4th grade, right?
Sure.
And she basically takes over the school newspaper immediately.
Yeah.
Right? Like nobody else is really drawing in there, and like her drawings are like they have this kind of dark humor that's really appealing to kids, I guess. Right? I think kids like dark humor more than adults would like to think. Like,
no, they definitely do. I can say this from experience. Kids do. I don't even know necessarily if it's like they expressly enjoy like dark humor, or if it's just something that so inherently like demands reaction that like when you're a kid, other kids will react to that in a way that it's okay. We all just like, we're going to see who we can get a rise out of.
Yeah, I think that there's part of that. And I also think that it's like, there's a certain age around 1st or 2nd grade age where you start processing the general idea of death, right? Maybe you have a pet that dies or some kind of extended family member or something who dies, and that's your first time processing what death actually means. And it might feel distant to you, but there is that fascination there with the idea. And so and that's at the center of like her of some of her comics, especially the one we see at the start of the movie, which, by the way, like some of the most impressive animation I've seen in a long time in this movie. That first shot of the moon, and it like cranes around and flips upside down, and you like get this zoom in shot where like it seems like every frame is getting drawn individually. It's just insane. But once you get into that, you get through this longer shot of her just like drawing and stuff. You see the art that she's drawing, and we get pulled into an animated version of the comic. And in that comic, there's a couple that gets into a car crash, and right before they die, they're like, I'm going to meet you in another life. They have this passionate kiss under a heart-shaped blood pool in the street. It's really macabre, but very funny. And then she gets reincarnated. My love, where are you at? A meteor falls down.
Right, a meteor in the shape of his face with kissy lips.
Yep. It's just one of those things where as a kid, I would really love this kid. Just somebody who has a great sense of humor and can draw, right? Even if her drawings aren't that great, technically speaking, right? It shows a lot of promise and a lot of humor, right? Sure. And that's like the really endearing thing about her from the start, is that imagination. And
it at the very beginning, it almost lost me because she's such a dickhead. She is
a dickhead through the whole movie, honestly.
No, she is, because like it's like, yeah, there are parts of it where it's, wow, this seems more like an abusive relationship than partners working on a manga, because she's I'll just keep charging ahead and you can look at my back.
Yeah, but at the start here, she has like her hands thrown back as everybody's complimenting her, and she's
I'm the fucking best.
I didn't even did my camera.
I didn't even try. I did it a couple hours. It didn't turn off, but it is for. Oh,
hang on. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 sec. Man,
this is actually not a bit.
Today. Come on.
You know, a lot of the time that this happens, it's a bit, but this time it's it. Oh, wow.
Jesus Christ.
Josh turned into an audio waveform?
Wow. Hey, Lois, I'm an audio wave.
This is going to be a great bit for the video viewers. The audio listeners, nothing is changing.
I'm an audio wave, Morty.
Man, I'm tired of Josh turning into Josh turns into an audio waveform.
Come on.
Morty, look, I turned myself into a waveform, Morty.
Come on. There we go. There we go.
I'm waiting for a break.
Adult Swim, sponsor us, please.
Cut this, make it a short, don't put it in the episode, and then smash the Adult Swim logo at the end.
Exactly. But
Running
where were we at? But yeah, but she has her hand back, and she's I did it in 5 minutes last night. Even though in the opening we see like how much labor she's putting into it. She stops, she puts her head down, she gets up and walks around for a minute. She comes back to it, right?
It's literally like a 2 or it may not be actually 3 minutes, but it feels like a 3-minute shot at the beginning of this movie where we are just staring in the back of her head when she is trying to figure out like, God, what's the punchline? What am I would like, and just like drawing and erasing and like scratching it. So it's drop the facade.
Yeah, but
you can be talented and use effort. It's cool to struggle.
Yeah. But not to her and not to her friends, I guess, because her friends are like, well, you could do this for a living someday. And she's, nah, I don't really feel like it. And then they're like, well, you could do athletics or whatever. She's like, maybe. She's doing the whole, I don't actually care all that much about this, as a way of like getting other people to still care about it. Like just trying to be flippant so that people invest more into themselves into it. And she carries that whole kind of personality throughout most of the movie, right? Up until at least the midway point, right? But it's an interesting character to follow through this kind of story, because it's so different from the kind of the very shameful, bashful, or shy artist, that kind of thing, which is more of the Kiyomoto, her kind of character, right?
Well, sure. And there is something I actually do want to touch on here, because the opening minutes of this movie, like the first 15, 20 minutes or so, where it's this kind of like self-contained arc where she's like much younger, and she does have this kind of like debonair, I didn't even really like, I drew it in 5 minutes, I don't really want to be an artist, I don't care. Grows herself, well, so it's sparked by, she sees art in the newspaper, like a new student comes to school, but she's shy. They call her a truant. Which means
she doesn't come to school, actually.
Right. But she's a part of the school. She attends classes, but she does it all from home. And she wants to put manga in the newspaper as well. So they give her one of the 2 4 panels. And Fujino gets jealous. She's like, that's some good art. And she hears like other kids over like talking about it too. They're like, oh, I think in the English dub, the kid is, this is really good. Whereas Fujino's stuff is just mid in comparison.
Yeah, like,
and
this thing is interesting because like it kind of has a very like fluctual, what time is this taking place in kind of thing. Right, there's some of that modern slang that's being used very early on, so it's maybe this is present day and we're going to see the future later on.
Present time.
But then whatever, in the middle of the movie when they go off and have this fun day in Tokyo or whatever, and they're like, I only spent like $50, and it's like, I spent $50 on Chinese food last night. What kind of boom economy are you guys in?
Well, right, but I kind of just circling back to that for just a second, because it touches on something that I feel like, at least personally, I've experienced, but maybe a lot of other artists experience this as well. Like pouring your passion into something, maybe not being able to invest as much time as you want to into it, seeing someone else who you perceive as better than yourself, and getting angry. Not necessarily like angry at them. I think it manifests a lot as jealousy, but personally, it's more anger with myself that I cannot produce what I feel like I want to.
Exactly. Like,
and seeing another artist be able to produce something so good is just like I get this when I listen to Shaky Graves. I'm like, Shaky Graves is awesome. I hate that guy. Like, no person should be this talented.
And like, the interesting thing about the Fujino and Kiyomoto, the kind of jealousy and then the kind of like friendship and partnership thing that goes on there, is that they have 2 very different skill sets, right? Fujino has like a very character focused kind of thing going on, whereas Kiyomoto is very like landscapes and buildings and stuff like that, and her path follows more of a background artist kind of thing, right? And it pointed something out to me that I wasn't very aware of. It might have been something that I knew happened every once in a while, but the fact that like when you read a manga, not every single element of every single frame is done by one person, right? Yeah. I think that, and especially weekly publications and stuff like that, I suppose it makes sense that it's that there would be different people working on different elements of it. But I guess manga has this kind of,
it very much has like an auteur culture in a lot of senses. People like when people say One Piece, you think Ichiro Oda. People say Dragon Ball, it's Akira Toriyama. People say Berserk, they have this sense of authorship where it's like there's one guy and it's the one dude and he's doing it all. And in a lot of cases, a large amount of the artistic vision comes from the one guy. So in a sense, they are auteurs.
Yeah, they're like the director.
But in a lot of cases, especially with bigger manga, they have staff that assist with a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. And I like that the movie acknowledges that. And then like in the referencing of assistants later on, and
casually just assumes a knowledge of the production world behind the animation, behind the manga. Because like you said, it gets into later, like you see like throughout the film, there's like the manga chart, like the placing chart, which is a real thing. They like Shonen Jump uses like a ranking chart that is determined by like people filling out forms and sending them back in to tell you like what position your manga is at any given week. And that's, it determines your place in the manga. It determines if you get a cover spread. It determines all kinds of things. Primarily your ability to keep making the manga.
Yeah, but to bring this back to the earlier scene we were talking about, the interesting way that kind of go, having the two characters who have very different styles and artistic sensibilities and artistic gifts, is that it's a little silly that they're comparing themselves to each other, right? Because it's like you do entirely different styles of drawing. Right. It's comparing somebody who carves out like crazy intricate abstract sculptures versus somebody who like is trying to do portraits and stuff like that in sculpture. It's just an entirely different thing. But she's so bent out of shape about this that after promising her friends that she's not going to be into manga anymore, and after like having this dry period where I'm not drawing anymore, she finally comes back to it.
Right. Well, and that's sparked by like she has this like serious fervor for 2 years, I think is the time frame. And they're like, okay, she's studying, she's looking at all these books, every second of her free time is drawing. And then one of her friends has an intervention with her in the classroom one day, and she just stops. She's like, okay, this isn't the straw that breaks the camel's back, but the next piece of art that I see is. So so she just stops until like she graduates, and they're like, go give this diploma to this girl. She didn't want some crusty old man showing up, and you guys both drew manga. So, I mean, it might be a little better. Like, she's already a shut-in. She don't want really anybody showing up to the house, but it may be better if you go than basically anybody else. And she's like, fine, whatever. So she humps her way on down there and just breaks into this girl's house.
Yeah, a little weird, right? I feel like anybody in America would have just dropped it at the house and left, right?
Yeah, literally on the front step or like in the mailbox or something. Dude, I'll put in people's mailboxes. It's mail fraud. It's technically a felony.
But yeah, she goes into the house, which I don't know if that's like a thing that people can just do in Japan. Or
I mean, when I was a kid, and if that's any like indication of Japanese culture, you absolutely just can walk into whoever's house you want to. Like if Pokemon, obviously a joke, but he just walks into this girl's house and just, yo, what up? I'm leaving your diploma here. And then she doesn't do that. She's like, wait a minute, I hear somebody in here. I'm going to keep on walking around. And then she goes up to the girl's room, and there's a little 4-panel like blank just sitting on stacks and stacks of sketchbooks. And she draws out this stupid little sketch of the girl she's coming to bring the diploma to, drying up a bony ass skeleton, just like being a shut in her room all day. was like,
Yeah.
what was it? Like the shutting competition. Like
Yeah,
half the people
exactly.
are cheering, stay inside, stay inside. And everybody else is like, come on out, come on out. And then she's just in there, a pile of bones.
Yep.
And she drops it and it slips under the door and she freaks out and runs away. But then the shut-in girl runs outside and she's like, I'm actually your biggest fan. Sign my jacket, please.
Yeah, she has such a sweaty, nervous otaku girl energy. And I love that the movie doesn't really sugarcoat how awkward and weird she is in a way. It makes her more endearing, right?
Mm-hmm.
She is literally sweating bullets and fidgeting with her hands and has weird emotive expressions that you can tell are earnest but come off as a little weird, right?
Right.
It's all of the weird sides, but God, she's so earnest. And, and yeah, I'm your biggest fan. What I followed your runs, and it's a funny kind of like meta commentary on what I assume is Fujimoto's experience with otaku culture, right? Just being like, I followed you for this
Katana
run,
Man
this
was crazy.
Exactly. Like two middle schoolers just being like, I love you so much, you know? Such a funny moment. She signs the back of her jacket because she doesn't have any paper for an autograph. It's hilarious. But offhandedly, just to give an explanation for why she hasn't been drawing in a while, Fujino's like, I've been working on this manga for our competition, you know, like
which I read as just a flat out lie.
No, she was lying, right? That's the implication, right? Is she's lying just to be like that. That's why I wasn't doing it, but please get off my back. And then she's, can I help? Can I please help? And
you have to show it to me when it's done.
Yeah, exactly. And there's something about it where it's like Fujino is such an idol to Kiyomoto, and Fujino doesn't want to let her down because she knows how much talent she has. That it's like, how can I refuse to let this girl help?
So I guess I just
so now I'm just making a manga, I guess.
Well, and the kicker to that is that they actually placed runner up in the competition that they signed up on and got
win literally
$1 million yen. Yeah,
which is $10,000 US, give or take. Depends on what day of the week or what decade of the year you're talking about, but roughly $10,000 US, which like that kind of blew my mind. As wow, you can draw and get $10,000 for it from one of the big publishing companies.
From
like, imagine if
Shonen
DC Comics did
Jump.
this.
Yeah, exactly, dude.
They should do that.
Imagine
DC Comics should do that.
Like all the guff and all the criticisms of the Shonen Jump model you want to levy at them, go right ahead.
Yeah.
Horrible work culture, horrible treatment of authors and staff and shit. From my understanding, a very limited understanding. So do your own research. But from what I can tell, not necessarily a great place to work. That being said, giving people the opportunities to get their foot in the door in an industry like that, is objectively an awesome thing to do.
Yeah.
And it's why industry in Japan, why the manga industry and the anime industry are so interesting.
Yeah, like they actually invest into new generations as opposed to just like the kind of American model where it's, maybe we'll try to make a new superhero or two every couple of years, right?
Bro, not
but
even
we're
that.
just gonna
Let's do the 17th SpongeBob spinoff. Nickelodeon, come on.
But yeah, and I love how sincere it plays off that they're like their collaboration to start, right? Because Fujino immediately goes back home in the raid and just starts immediately working on stuff. And then they cut back to a couple months or so later. She's coming back home, and Kiyomoto has literally just been inside her house this whole time.
Right. You know, there's a lot
draft table.
I feel like we could have done with in terms of just like a couple establishing scenes we miss from the movie being so short. But at the same time, like I said, it's very concise. And in a lot of ways, like, there are those moments like of her coming home and now Fujimo's just like at the drafting table, just hanging. The like that moment in itself does good enough to show kind of a progression in time and a development in their relationship that I don't know if we actually need anything else. Like it walks a very fine line where it's like, I feel like there's more that we could have seen, but it does a good enough job of like just like covering all those points, I think.
I don't know if it would have needed any more, right?
That's what,
because I think that the fact that there's essentially only these two characters in the story, and they're really the only two characters that matter, right?
sure.
There's like maybe a couple other characters that have like couple bit parts here and there, whatever the story necessitates it, but they're never in the movie longer than they have to, right? There's no filler in this movie. There's nothing that I could really cut out and be like, this isn't necessary, right? And I think that in a weird way speaks to like the part of my problem with like film culture, or at least consumerist art culture, right? Is that when you go to a movie, you expect 2 hours of content because,
sure,
God damn it, I drove all the way to the movie theater. I spent $13. I need something for my money, right? And so you get 2 hours of movie, but if your story would have been better as an hour, then what's the other hour? It's just filler, right? And I feel like there's something brave about this movie just being like, we're just going to be an hour long. We are literally not going to put anything in here that doesn't need to be in here. There's no scenes with any family members or anything that don't drive the plot of these two characters forward, right? There's none of that. It's just exactly what we need to do this. And I think that actually gives them a bit of the leeway to push to focus in on those moments, not only from like a direction and a performance style and everything, but also from an art perspective, right? Because this movie it's the best looking movie I've seen since Boy and the Heron, and
it's a really good looking movie.
It is, and it's such a shame that like I didn't get to see it in a theater, because I feel like seeing some of those like soaring overhead shots, or I'm thinking about like the part where she's like skipping in the rain after
oh my god, dude. In an IMAX theater, which like I had a pretty good experience because I have a 50-inch TV that's literally a foot away from the end of my bed, so post up in bed and just kick back. I have a pretty decent viewing experience at home, but a IMAX with actually a good speaker system would improve the experience of this movie, I think.
It really would. But anyway, so like we montage through them creating this comic. I forget what it's called. I should have written all this stuff down. But anyways, they write some comic for this weekly shonen competition or whatever. They make second place, essentially,
runner up,
win this insane money, and then they're like, okay, we're saving most of it, but we're also going to take like $100 worth of it, and we're just going to hit the town and have a bunch of fun, right? And again, I don't understand how far $100 will get you in Tokyo, right? But they seem to have a lot of fun for their money, right?
Literally in downtown Tokyo at the Scramble. Mm-hmm. It's like they had a full day. They took public transportation. And she took out 100,000 yen, and she was like, "I only used 5,000 yen."
But yeah,
and that was another one where it sticks out to me as, wow, she's a dickhead. It was a really fun day, and I had a great time, and I just thank you for getting me out of my room. You can thank me with 100,000 yen.
What the? Yeah, back to work. But then they just keep drawing little mangas, right? They just keep going and going with these one shots, right? And I like that they dive into other little genres, right? They have something about the ocean, right? And then they have the cicada people, some kind of
it seems like they always gravitate to a horror setting, which I think is like, I don't know. It's interesting that a couple middle school girls would be like best-selling horror authors. I just think that's something like dichromatically funny about that in my brain.
Yep, the kids have the darkest minds of us all, don't they?
They really do, though.
Man, imagine what would happen if we got some of these kids a couple of My Chemical Romance albums. They would have been going insane.
We're not stepping away from this yet because I just watched the first 3 episodes of Arkane, and they have not 9 Inch Nails. Who is it? Oh God, Linkin Park. They have Linkin Park.
That's
the
good.
League of Legends show has okay. It is the League of Legends show. Yep. One of the most beautifully rendered television shows I think I've ever seen. Arkane, solid recommendation from this one over here as a bonus for you during the midpoint of this episode.
Do they do the theme song for it, or is it still the
no, it's still misery. Everybody wants to be my enemy.
That's the best Imagine Dragons song they've released in
ages.
The
best Imagine Dragons song, but still.
But yeah, they keep going and going at it, and their friendship builds and builds, but then they literally start to come apart, right? There's
the shot with the tree.
Yep. There's the shot with the tree, and then there's also the shot where they're running in the street holding hands, and Fujimoto's in front, Kiyomoto's in back, and she like starts to lose grip, right? And that's a signal that like things are starting to break between them, right? That there's some level of ambition that Fujino is ready for, but Kiyomoto isn't quite, right? And that leads to this pivotal scene where they're both, I guess, post-high school age, right? They've graduated high school, and they're like, what are we going to do now? And it's, well, Shonen Jump has promised us a series because we've been producing hit one shot after one shot, right?
And so now we can just do a series. We can lock in with Shonen Jump. We can lock in working at Shonen Jump and just have our manga series. Not Fujino, Kiyomoto's like, I think I want to go to art school. And it's this really, this is one of the scenes that really set me back. This is another one where I'm like, wow, Fujino's just a dickhead. She spends this whole scene just, you're not ready for this. You're not good enough. Like, you can't go to the convenience store by yourself and talk to the guy at the cash register. And she's just like, but I can try. I can work on that. I can get better. And she's, no, you cannot. Just like shutting her down, basically, because like she understands that they have a good partnership, that they work well together, and she's become reliant on that, and she's not ready for that to be over. She's not ready to lose that partnership in whatever sense that is, because to me, there are a lot of shots that imply that it's not necessarily a platonic relationship, but it's never explicit, the history books will say they're best friends, but we all know it. So I don't know, man. It was just like, that was one that was just like heartbreaking. But then
like the thing about that scene that I think is interesting is there's that push and pull of her trying to manipulate her back into the circle, right? She is a dickhead kind of like manipulative character, right? And what she's trying to do in that scene, because the very first reaction she has to Kiyomoto when I want to go to art school, she's, well, that's fine, I guess. I can get assistants to help me with the backgrounds. It's initially trying to be like, well, that's fine. I don't need you. It's whatever. Just to immediately try
to pull that reaction of on now. Like, exactly. I'm not that unimportant to the process here, but she doesn't get that.
When Kiyomoto doesn't really respond with that kind of reaction, she's then immediately, well, now I need to pull the "you're not ready" card, right? She's literally just like pulling all these excuses out of her pockets to try to be like, don't go because I need you, right?
Right. Without ever having to put herself in the position of saying that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's again like this kind of not selfishness, but what's the word I'm looking for, man?
Sure-headedness. I don't know. It's whatever the exact opposite of humble is.
Exactly. Whatever that word is. She is not that. But Kiyomoto is in this position of, I need to better myself, because she both sees that she has these kind of social deficiencies that she wants to work on, right? And so that's why she wants to get out there. But also there's a sense that she doesn't believe that her art is good enough, right? She doesn't think
she has reservations within herself about her own workflow and her own pace and her ability to keep up with a Shonen Jump workflow,
which are exacerbated.
Understandably.
Yeah, which are exacerbated by a scene that we see that is, I believe, is supposed to take place before this scene in time, but it's a flashback that happens later in the movie at a very pivotal moment. But it's them walking, and she's like, I want to get better as an artist. And then Fujino's like, yeah, just stick with me, keep working at it, and don't stop, and just stick with me, and it's all going to get better, right? And it, like,
she literally says,
I'm
watch
not good enough.
back and follow me. She literally says, watch my back and follow me, and I will lead the way.
Exactly. And it's, I'm not good enough. I need to go to school so that I can keep getting better, right? It's planting those, because she's an immaculate artist, right? Even as a kid, it's, I could never draw this.
It is very impressive, like landscapes. They're just gorgeous landscapes that she draws.
Yeah, but then she hears all this stuff from Fujino about how you got to keep working harder, and then she like leafs through these background books that are just like these immaculate Ghibli landscapes or whatever, and she's, I need to be better. I need to go to school to improve myself. Yeah, exactly. And the whole movie, I think, is just about this artistic ambition to constantly be better than what you are now, and how that insecurity is destructive, right? Because she goes to art school, and while Fujino is working on this show, and I will say the movie's not super clear on this, but I wasn't clear whether or not Kiyomoto was ever working on this still, because they still use the same pen name that they had together, and I don't know, there's something there where I'm not sure if she's like working from home and sending occasional things. There's also a part where where Fujino's on the phone complaining about somebody doing background art, and I wasn't sure whether or not that was some other person or if she was complaining about Kiyomoto's work, right?
No. My understanding was that discussion was like about an assistant or like some other person. And Kiyomoto, like how she was in middle school, has just been keeping up with her friend's work. Has just been like, which is why she's got the Shark Kick manga in her room, and
the reader survey that you were talking about.
Yeah, and the reader survey, on her desk, exactly.
But yeah, so I guess that sells that for me. So they're on totally different, separate paths right now, and Shark Kick just like becomes a sensation, right? It has the rating, like jumps and dips, but it hits high peaks, right?
3 or 4 weeks in a row where it hits 1, 2, 1, 1. It's like,
exactly.
Okay, we're doing some One Piece numbers now.
Yeah, but
look out, Oda, Shark Kick is coming.
Yeah, but along the way, I appreciate that the show, or that this movie, I will say it doesn't get into more of the real systemic workplace troubles that you alluded to earlier, but it never depicts this field as super glamorous, right? It never goes into like, I love, pumping out a new comic every week. It's so much fun, it's
very nonchalant. It expects, I think it expects an understanding. It's not like trying to teach you or show you anything necessarily, but it is operating with an understanding, and it is like just expecting a mutual understanding or a willingness to go with whatever is being said. If that makes it, like, not necessarily like glamorizing or demonizing or like showing the nitty gritty, but just like, these are the facts of their life. This is their job. Like, it's not special to them. There's nothing new or cool or fun or awesome to know or learn. It's just like what they're doing now.
Exactly. But once we're at this point, the comic reaches this peak, and then she's working, plugging away at the comic, and she overhears on the news that there's this insane thing that happened at Kiyomoto's art school. Essentially, some guy came in with a pickaxe and decided to kill 12 or 13 people, something like that. It's around a dozen people.
Well, and this is the scene that really, this is where that gut punch came in for me, because watching her see, like, it has not directly impacted me or people I know yet, but every couple months now, it's getting closer and closer to home. We live in the United States. I'm not gonna just bang on and harp on about, like, we said no political, but hearing some tragedy has happened at some place close to you.
It's not political to say that. It's a common event.
It's not an uncommon occurrence now. And it's like just picking up the phone, calling your friend.
Yep.
Your friend doesn't answer. Immediately, mom calls her. I'm just like, oh my fucking God.
Yep.
And that is a devastating scene, but the problem comes in because very quickly after this, we get this weird kind of like Second Life what if scenario.
Yeah, to pull back a little bit, this film has such a way with creating contrast between the expressions on characters' face. Did my camera go out again?
I think
it's so ironic while talking about expressions in animation. Give me 1 second. I am going to be getting a new camera soon. I swear to God. This $40 Sam's Club web mic is not working out.
Unfortunate.
No, another app is not using my camera. Shut up. I literally just unplugged it. Come on, man. If we have to, I will literally just replace the part that would have my face with the dead-eyed expression that Fujimoto has after this call.
No, but that's what it is, dude. It's the eyes.
Yeah, exactly. What I was going to say is the characters are so lifelike in most of the movie that whenever there's like this real dead-eyed expression, right? The first one we really see is when Fujimoto is in her first like real like deadlock I'm into anime or into manga phase, and her friend's having that intervention with her, and she just looks up and is like, "Huh?" Oh. Literally does the cat like "huh" thing. Oh. Hang on, let me try to do this.
This is Big John Stud's retribution for us going 30 seconds over. See, this is the oh god. The Chekhov's gun from earlier where I said there would be absolutely no personal repercussions from us going over on Big John Stud's time. Well, now we suffer.
Maybe I could do it through OBS. Give me 1 second. Okay, my camera's working on OBS, so if I do virtual camera, let me try this. There we go. Yay, we're back.
We're back.
Hopefully that doesn't happen again. But like I was saying, the difference in those expressions is so crazy. And then when we reach this kind of like darker second half, especially with the wake and everything, and Fujimoto's very deadened expression, it just feels so palpably like a different register in the movie. And I love that the movie can have that contrast, right? But anyway, so on to the part with that wake. She's at the house, and interesting enough, we never see Kyomoto's parents either as a child or in this wake, right? They're just completely absent the whole movie. But she's clearly at a house that she's not paying for herself, so we never really know what her home living situation is. And maybe that's the one thing they could have added, but it's not super necessary.
It's very Serial Experiments Lane. Like, she's a robot from a different...
Yeah, it's exactly like Serial Experiments Lane.
She's a robot from a government agency. Yeah.
And very much like Serial Experiments Lane, there's a plot twist, which is that Fujimoto kind of goes back to right outside Kyomoto's room where she was before as a kid, and she sees the Shark Kick manga that's sitting outside on a bunch of stacks of papers, and she's like leafing through it and just being like, just trying to find some meaning in anything. And then when she flips to a page, you can see that the old comic that she drew of Kiyomoto being a shut-in, is basically being used as a bookmark in the book, right? It's just stuck right in there. And when she sees this, she's like, it was me all along. I was the one who pushed her so hard that she felt like she needed to go to art school. And if she didn't go to art school, then she wouldn't be dead right now, right? So it's all my fault, right? And in this like fit of frustration and sadness, she like tears up the manga, or tears up the little comic strip, and the first panel where people are chanting "Don't come out" floats through the air and slips back under the door, and then we see the opposite side of the door as it comes out, but it's daytime on the other side. And who's on the other side and who's inside the room? It's young Kiyomoto. And we get this holy shit, it's sending myself a message from the past or whatever, right? It's like some weird paranormal little thing, right? And this is where your issues, I guess, came into things.
And not so much issues, because I appreciate what this part of the story is for, because it gives us more time to like experience Kiyomoto, like to experience her character, to experience who she is as a person and what her day-to-day would have been at the art school, because we see like this doesn't really change anything for her. She still becomes motivated, she still becomes interested in art, she still goes to art school, and the only thing that changes in this other world is that Fujino like never continued being a mangaka. She went and not became a karate master, but that's all we're shown about her alternate life, is she went and studied karate, and she flying like because kick the pickaxe attacker, because attacker shows back up.
I love this because it's like there's that little line of dialogue that Fujino's sister drops in a scene that's, come to karate class with me, stop working on this manga. And then it pays off in this alternate reality where she does drop the manga thing for a long time. And it's, well, I guess in this kind of like Back to the Future what if sense, it's, well, if she didn't do that, I guess she would become a karate something or other. But
I think my problem comes in when we circle back to Kiyomoto has drawn a little comic about her being saved by Fujino from the pickaxe guy, right?
Yeah.
And that comic flies back under the door in what I'm gonna call like World 1, like the original world.
Yeah. It's the Forrest Gump shot.
Right, exactly.
Forrest Gump.
So my question is the door because like obviously that 4-panel could not have been drawn in the first world. There is no way that Kiyomoto knows about the pickaxe attacker before that happens and draws a comic of Fujino as her savior and just has that pasted on the window in her room in the original world. There's just no shot, right?
No,
so she draws that in the second world, and then it falls under the crack of the door in the first. And I understand there's obviously it's a manga, it's like an anime, it's like there's a suspension of disbelief, but there was something so just like basic and normal and real about this world that to jump into an entirely different world and to indicate that there's some form of communication between the two, and then to go absolutely no further with that was like tearing my brain apart.
Okay, so what I want to say about this is that I think that this section of the movie, this 15 to 20 minute section where we see the Kiyomoto's alternate life, right, without Fujino, right, I don't think that it's like as a literal second dimension. I don't think that there's a portal. I don't think it's anything like that. I think it is literally just a metaphor. It's a metaphorical expression of the guilt and trauma that Fujino is feeling, right? And what
if within her head, like
exactly.
what actually would have changed?
It's
if
a what
I
if
never
made manifest. Yeah, it's a wonderful life. It's like the what if this didn't happen, then the world would be better, or that the world would be different, but it wouldn't have necessarily have been all better, right? So I guess that's a little bit of a misnomer, because it would be better in some respects, but I think that the thing that it's getting at is that that violent event is not Fujino's fault, because if in an alternate reality where she was there at the right time or the right place, she would have done something about it, right? So
Right.
it's not a thing of and also Kyomoto would have gone to art school either way, right? It's
Right.
because she would have felt that drive to become better. And it's Fujino, you could have been a better friend, but you don't need to put all this weight of her loss onto yourself.
Right.
And I think that it's literally just like a metaphorical representation of her going through that in her head, because she's basically she accidentally lets that bit of her guilt under the door, and then it spits back out to her no, in this other world you would have still been my friend, and you would have still done important things for me. So it's not your fault, right?
Right.
So I think that's the purpose of it, rather than trying to imply that there's literally an alternate dimension with.
I don't think there's a Monsters Inc. She opens the door, and it's like, but it's more of it would be perfectly fine in my brain to say, okay, it was just a metaphor. If the slip had gone under the door on her end and nothing else happened, like, that's perfectly fine. Like, you get, okay, the slip falls under the door and she's like, okay, well, what happens if she only gets the message, don't come out, and she stays inside and I don't do anything and we never make a manga together? And what burns in my brain is the comic of her saving her from a pickaxe attack coming back out from under the door.
I think it's just that if you need to have the resolution for quote unquote Fujino 1, right?
Sure.
You need for Fujino Alpha, I guess, in the parlance of Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Fujino Alpha. Yeah, we'll work with that. We'll work with that. We'll work with that.
Yeah, but she needs the resolution, right? That's what the whole arc here is about.
Right.
So it can't just be that we enter this alternate dimension and then we see what happens, but she has no resolution herself, right? That's like the depressing A24 version of this story, right?
Well, yes, I think personally, as an audience member, I would have read it more clearly as a metaphor, as like internal workings of Fujino's mind, of Fujino processing this grief and this guilt without that. Like, I'm not saying it would have been more clear without it, but I definitely wouldn't have the question I have had it been absent. I think it would have been easier for me to accept as simply a metaphor for the processing of grief.
Yeah.
Had there not been some physical memento of the things that we see.
I think that it's somewhere between a pure metaphor that doesn't actually exist and a literal alternate dimension. It's in that this kind of in-between fugue state where it's like a very like loose fantastical element that they just like they put a little bit of drop of fantasy in there to be like, sure, okay, here's how we can manifest the resolution for this arc, right? Sure. Because I don't know how you resolve this kind of story without her just going to therapy for 10 years. Just talking to a therapist about her relationship to her friend, right? This is really the only other way you could do it.
Well,
right?
And the other
or some variant of it.
The other thing that I think that kind of answers this for me, and it's the other theory that I have, is that at the end she pastes one of the like 4-panel things on her window in front of her workstation. It is, in my mind, that blank 4-panel that she pastes at the end is actually the 4-panel that came out from under the door. It is blank.
It might be, yeah.
Her processing of that guilt and grief, like there was just a blank one taped on the window and the window was open and it blew off and it fell under the door, and that's what she saw. There's a middle ground there where I see it and I understand that there's supposed to be a suspension of disbelief here. There is like a significant level of suspension of disbelief that needs to go into it, so I'm being nitpicky and pedantic about asking this question in the way that, but it was something that just like fully snapped me on like that aspect of the experience. I was like, not that it doesn't fit, because again, I understand what it's doing and where it's coming from and what it's trying to say with it. But
yeah.
it was just that one part of it that, like,
Yeah.
I don't want to say it pulled me out of it, because again, I enjoyed the movie, but
No, I understand that. And it, I understand like having a little bit of a hang up with it just being like, it just introduces that thing into the mix and it doesn't ever, I guess it never becomes like a more significant thing, right? It's just the resolution, the way that it decides to resolve this character, right?
And it's the kind of thing that feels like it would have significance to her, to Fujimoto.
But I think it's one of those things where, so there's a little moment when Kyomoto 2, I guess, Kyomoto Beta, sees that little slip under the door, and Fujino has already left, and she like peace outside, and there's nobody in the house to have left this piece of paper here. She didn't come to the door. I would have heard her. So must have been a ghost. And that's how I feel about it, that it's a little bit like if you've ever heard a thump in your house and you've never really been able to explain what it is. It's just like this inexplicable little bit of, yeah, it's just like an inexplicable moments of reality breaking. And
Josh, have you seen Interstellar?
I have seen Interstellar.
Okay,
yeah.
So yeah, it's like 1-to-1 then.
Yeah, but unlike Interstellar, this doesn't give you the shot of Matthew McConaughey pulling the
knocking on the backside of the
yeah.
Come on, Murph.
Yeah, but again, it's that similar thing where it's just a little inexplicable moment of being unable to process some little break in reality, right? And I think that's what it is, right? That it's like you said, this panel flies off under the door and she sees it. And to some extent, it's, maybe in the literal world, it's the thing got blown in by the wind and there's nothing on it, right? But she literally sees this drawing that she probably couldn't have manifested in her own mind otherwise, right? And it's just like a little break in her reality. That is this a ghost? Is it not? What is it? And we never get an explanation for it, but I don't really need one.
I'm not actually saying there's an inconsistency in your film. I'm not trying to hit him with the like everything wrong with buzzer.
This film could have used more lap dances.
Oh.
No, just kidding. Don't clip that chat. Don't clip that.
Were there any? I missed the part where there were lap dances in this movie. You must have been watching the extended cut. You got an extra 2 minutes or something.
Yep, exactly. It's the extended American cut. Yeah, but like Evangelion, they take the shot of her drawing at her desk and just make it like 20 minutes long instead of 2.
Bro, I almost thought I got baited because like I really did think it was gonna be maybe for the first 20 seconds. I was like, okay, I'm fully locked in to sit here for the next hour and look at the back of this little girl's head while she draws a manga.
Would have been great. But yes, that just to get a little bit more into the specifics of that B universe, right? I think it's an interesting choice to show her like literally getting saved by Fujino, right? Because I guess as an American, there's like such a sensitivity brought to this kind of mass murder event, right?
Right. It's very obviously a pickaxe murderer is not.
It's a little bit out there.
It's a little bit out there, but it is so difficult for me to hear crazed lunatic went into X location with X weapon and killed X people. I'm like, yeah, that probably did just happen. And to see what is they're building up to be just like, oh, we're just gonna watch the most brutal pickaxe murder ever put to film. And then all of a sudden, here comes Fujino B with a flying Captain Falcon kick, and there are some things with this movie with pacing and tone that upset me.
Like the tone in that B universe is weird, and that's why I lean towards like it's not literal, right? Because it's one of those things where it's especially in an American film, like you wouldn't dare, unless you're, I guess, the Daily Wire, you wouldn't dare treat like a school shooting this way, right? As like some kind of action movie or whatever. But by the way, do you know about that Daily Wire movie?
I do know about the Blue Wire movie.
So unfortunate.
It's based on a book, isn't it?
I don't know. Probably. That would make sense.
Daily
Probably
Wire.
based on a book Ben Shapiro wrote, but no politics. But no politics asterisk except what I say we can.
except when it's bullying right-wing figures.
Exactly. But
and left-wing figures. Some of y'all deserve it too. And we've been letting you get we've been too soft, and that's why we are where we are.
We have been a bit too soft.
We've been too soft with our leadership. And
we're gonna record a little mini episode here about the about our feeling. No, we're not gonna do that. We can't do that. No. but yeah, just the pickaxe thing, which is it's one of those things where you could see like maybe a movie in the 80s being like, oh yeah, there's a serial killer with a pickaxe running around, but in this day and age, it feels very weird. And obviously this guy has some kind of like mental break that causes this, right? He starts having these paranoid ideas about people stealing his work. And so that's why he goes out and does this, is my understanding of it anyway. But I don't know, there is a weird total thing there where it's, we do see what we interpret to be like the first 30 seconds of an attempted murder, right? And then suddenly it turns into this crazy little action moment, right?
Power Ranger shot.
Yeah, like it's like an unbelievable little bit of coincidence that she's there. But I don't know. I guess that might be a criticism of the movie, is that a lot of the emotional resolution hinges on this like crazy coincidence in a I guess in like an imagined
dream
sequence,
right? Yeah. It feels empty. It feels like I do not get the sense of resolution that I would have liked from the movie. Mm-hmm. And part of me wants to say that might be intentional, because if somebody close to you dies, you're never going to get the resolution that you want.
Yeah.
You will never be able to say concretely, if somebody that you care about passes away, you will never be able to say, I had enough time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so there may be something to it there. And I think that it's an incredibly intelligent work, but I don't know if I can give it that credit, because it doesn't give me the sense that it was necessarily deliberate, considering the kind of Deus Ex Machina way that it was in finality delivered. Like the way that it's just, oh yeah, in a dream sequence, I happened to have taken up karate and I just happened to be walking by. Like, I'm from 2 towns over and I just was taking a morning stroll next to this art school that I have no connection to, and I saw this guy walking around with a pickaxe, so I figured I would just follow him. Like, it's very unsatisfying, and not in a way that indicates to me that it is like unsatisfying with a point.
Yeah, it's a weird one. It is an odd choice that I'm starting to really ponder over it, right? Yeah, and
I don't think it detracts from the movie much, because I still think it's a fairly good movie, and I think I would recommend it. But there are just parts of it that like stand out to me as that just seems like a flaw.
Mm-hmm.
But I may not be reading it correctly. I may not be understanding it. And it's certainly not to, like I said, it's certainly not to take away from the rest of what this film does incredibly, which is the art, which is the character work, the way that these characters bounce off each other, and the way that we see their relationship develop, and the way that we see their relationship have its ebbs and flows, and how they get into arguments, and how it's, in some cases, I think it does a very good job with those aspects of it. But the ending kind of leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah, I can understand that. I think that if the movie just left it at that slip of paper, right? It was just like, okay, she sees this little slip of paper and is like, well, I guess Kiyomoto's still alive in some reality, so that's that, right? That would be something. But then she decides to open the door into the room, and she sees all of the stacks and stacks of Shark Jump or Shark Kick that Kiyomoto's been reading, and the little reader survey or whatever, and it's immediately like, she never resented you for any of that, right? It was, and I guess that's more of the emotional resolution. Is just
Right.
that, like,
that scene more concretely to me signifies like, oh, like this anxiety that you had with this person, you thinking that you might have been on bad terms, that is completely rectified here because they understand that y'all's paths diverged and that they'd see each other again someday, but they still care about you and they were keeping up with you.
Yep. And I think that having that kind of twofold resolution is what really makes the landing stick for me. And also just having her kind of put that, like you said, put that blank comic up on her wall just to be like, I'm going to remember you and what we meant to each other. And that's what's going to keep driving me forward. And not the sense to be better just for better's sake or to be better than somebody else. But I just want to make art for the people I care about. Right. And I think that all works, right? I do think that it is fair to levy a bit of criticism against the kind of reality break moment, but I think that it sticks the landing where it needs to.
Well, yeah, like I said, all in all, I think it's a pretty solid watch, especially coming in under an hour. I can't find any reason to tell somebody like if it sounds interesting at all not to watch it. Yeah. But we've had our parade of 10 out of 10s for the past several weeks. And I'm stepping up right now, Josh. I'm going to say this is more like a 7.5, 8, maybe.
Yeah, I think I would give this. It's a 9 if you're in a bad mood and just need something to make you feel better. And it's probably an 8 in any other instance, right? It's one of those things where if you're in a situation where you need something to really pick you up, this will help, right? And you might need to pick me up right about now, no politics, but this really couldn't have come out at a better time, could it? Right, just to remind people that relationships matter, right? Not to get too lost in the sauce of whatever, but
relationships do matter, but it also matters who you develop a relationship with.
Exactly. Yeah, I give this high 8, low 9, something like that. So probably like an 8 on average for us. Yeah. I think that I think it was good that we slotted this in kind of last minute, right? I would have checked it out either way because I had been hearing so much good stuff about it coming out of Annecy Film Festival, I think is where it premiered. Anyways, but like
I'm glad to have watched it. It's not something that's like super within my wheelhouse, so I probably wouldn't have gone out of my way for it otherwise, but like I said, I think it's a pretty solid little watch.
Yeah. And you know what else is very likely going to be a very solid watch is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Diamond is Unbreakable Part 2. We're finally doing it. We're finally doing it. After a month and a half of not having done any JoJo's, we're finally coming back to it.
JoJo's is back, baby.
November 25th. We're finally going to cap off Diamond is Unbreakable right before the end of the year.
I gotta say, as a JoJo's fan, one of my favorite arcs. Do not miss it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. High praise. But yeah, those are episodes 21 through 39 of part 4, right? So, yeah.
We're about to see some of the sickest stand battles you've ever seen. We are about to see one of the most interesting villains that has ever graced the screen. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 4 is a treat. And now that we are gauging into the second half, It's. I know I've said this about every single JoJo's part we've read so far. It only goes up from here. Part 5 is excellent, but this is going to be like a peak for us for a little bit in terms of JoJo's watching.
Yeah, and then we're going to have a smaller break from JoJo's during December because we got 2 other big things coming out. December 9th, we are talking Metaphor ReFantazio, the crazy long anime-ass JRPG that I've been cranking a few more hours into, and I gotta say, it keeps getting better, I think.
It just keeps getting better. It's ridiculous.
My only criticism so far is that I'm having a really hard time finding MP items, but...
oh my... Well, the SMT game, that's just how it is. You are always going to be...
I don't feel like it was that bad with Persona, but yeah.
Oh, P5 was a cakewalk, but yeah, no. Like, SMT especially, and I feel like Metaphor leans more on the difficulty scaling of the SMT games more than...
Yeah.
Persona... Especially now, Persona seems to me to be like the, hey guys, come check out the press turn system. And then they've got SMT for the, hey guys, have you heard of the press turn system? And I think Metaphor sits somewhere in the middle of those two.
Yeah. Interesting game to be talking about right after an election. But yeah, we're going to be covering that on December 9th, just a few days before the Game Awards.
And if you do not vote for Metaphor for the Game Awards, I'm coming to like each of your houses personally.
Yeah, man, I don't know what else this year comes close. Anyway,
what are the nominations? We can do our Josh. We can take 5 minutes for Game Awards.
I don't think they've come out yet, but I have my predictions, and nothing comes close.
Let's see. Game of the Year. Okay, this is Polygon's predictions for Game of the Year award. We have Astrobot, Metaphor, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Balatro, Silent Hill 2 Remake, Dragon Age The Veilguard, and some people are saying Like a Dragon, Dragon Dogma 2.
That's not happening. No.
Helldivers 2. Echoes of Wisdom probably is not gonna hit.
I don't think that's gonna happen. No. It's such a weird toss of a year for nominations.
If Stalker 2 hits crazy the second it comes out, then it might have a chance, but that may just be wishful thinking on my part.
For what I know, Metaphor seems to be like with Astrobot one of the only 2 locks this year, right?
Yeah, like Dragon Age
could really be anything else.
But yeah, Outro is definitely going to be up there for indie game. It is probably going to sweep indie game of the year unless Animal Well goes crazy, which I expect it to.
I expect it to as well.
But beyond people just refusing to play an 80-hour RPG, which I get, Metaphor is phenomenal. The art direction, it is one of the prettiest games I have ever seen. I just upgraded to a 4070 so I can run the game better. Not that it ran poorly before, but I got a new graphics card so that the game would run better. I also got the graphics card for Monster Hunter Wilds. I've upped the graphics card. I got a new power supply. Hopefully I do not have to change my CPU because that means I have to change my motherboard and rebuild my PC.
Yeah.
But we'll cross that bridge when we get there, I guess.
Exactly. And then December 23rd, we're doing the new Lord of the Rings movie. It's supposed to be having its proper audience premiere in a few days. So we'll see what people think of that then. But that one's coming out December 23rd. So JoJo's November 25th, Metaphor December 9th, then Lord of the Rings December 23rd. That's the rest of our year.
That's the rest of our year, guys.
That's the rest of the year, man.
3 more episodes of How to Otaku before it's 2025.
Exactly. What a year 2025 will be. Derogatory.
Derogatory. Bro, I for one am going to make the biggest stink the second prices go up because that's the rhetoric that people listen to. If that's what we're worried about, the second that 20% tariff hits, damn, guys, these prices suck. I remember when Joe Biden America was like, it's going to be crazy how quickly people miss Joe Biden. Like,
I'm gonna hate on 2025 purely from the Lilo and Stitch remake perspective. God damn,
Aw.
man. You haven't seen this? Look it up. It's fugly, man.
Lilo and Stitch.
Anyways,
Hold on.
check us
Lilo and
out.
Stitch Brogan live reaction.
While he looked this up, let me tell you guys about our social medias. We got Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at HowToOtakuPod, and now Blue Sky rather than X, and that's at HowToOtaku.com. We put our little handle in there, and if you go to HowToOtaku.com, you'll see our website, which I continue to update every few days or so, just filling with the layout and stuff. But yeah, I'm pretty proud of it so far. It's looking pretty good. But yeah,
it is looking pretty good. We're gonna do a coffee page. You guys can support us on coffee potentially.
In 2025, we're working on launching a coffee.
I'm in the same boat there. I have not deleted my Twitter account. It's still there if you want to find it. All my tweets are still up. But unless things change, the last post I'm ever going to make on Twitter is up, and it is a link to my Blue Sky account. You can find me at Brogan Live on Blue Sky.
I'm at JD Thornfilm on Blue Sky as well. But yeah, the full pivot to Blue Sky. Honestly, it's been really nice not being on Twitter, especially during this week. But
no politics, Josh.
No politics. Anyways, that's been it for us. I'm Josh.
I'm Brogan.
And I'll see you later, Space Cowboy.
What? You stole my line!
Just follow me. Just follow my back, and I'll take us wherever we need to go.
Bro, the second you turn away and stop looking, I'm gonna start full speed sprinting and hit you with that around the back RKO. You're not gonna see it coming. Anyway, see you, Space Cowboy.
Thanks for listening, everyone.